uniforms. They're not flashing lights. It's, you call and a couple of people come in a car and they go, hey, what's up? And they also get deployed with they're forming a lot of relationships with the police forces. And they, sometimes they get called in, like the police will say, come a mobile crisis and join us on this. And sometimes, if the situation is dangerous, they call the police and say, hey, please come and join us. So.
Well, it's with all these unattractive social woes, there are all these things that people encounter. They don't prepare for them because they're unattractive. They are embarrassed by them, but everybody has somebody in their family that had a problem.
Right.
And maybe they didn't make it as far as an organization like yours or to the state hospital or whatever. But everybody has somebody in their family that we know just wasn't right. They weren't, you'd write it off that they were an aspiring comedian or whatever. But we just kind of wrote it off. Do you think that we have more people with mental health, less people? Is it that phenomenon where it's just getting more reported?
I think that there's always been issues. I think that I think that you could be very pessimistic and say that that it could be, that it's becoming more that it seems like it's more in the news and what have you. But I kind of take a positive view a lot of times. I think that people are more open about it now than they used to be. There was, back in the day, maybe your mom was depressed and maybe, and maybe she drank to deal with that, and but nobody in the family talked about it. Nobody talked about it. And you went through your whole life and there was trauma in the family, but nobody talked about it. And now I think instead of, maybe mom is talking about it and getting some help and everybody's like more aware. I try to hold on to optimism and that's kind of where I see it. That's why I think people are much more willing to talk about it than they used to be. And there's, this. Yeah.
I can't tell if there's, I remember, because there was a place near where I lived, so I would see people that had mental health issues, and I can't tell if that skewed things, but I don't think it's as bad, but I think we are more aware, like in all genres of the news, of every instance of things now. But that's not to say that the problem isn't there, because I think it's been inflated realistically or artificially by everything having to have a diagnosis.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's actually so that's where we kind of gotten to. We're really lucky. So funding, we're just going back to your original question. So we have this contract with the county for the consumer satisfaction team. We have two other contracts with the county. One is to do surveying for people with intellectual disabilities. And one is the community advocates, which is a one-on-one kind of advocacy thing, effort. It's people with lived experience who you can call up and you can get advice about, or meet with us and get advice about, how to deal with your landlord, your roommate, the electric company, your psychiatrist.
And by real experience, you're talking about people that have went through the same mental health process.
Correct.
They're on the other side of it now, helping others.
Yeah, they're in recovery, and they've been through the system. And the emphasis of the advocates is self-advocacy. We don't do a lot of we don't leap in and say, okay, well, here, let me, solve this problem for you. It's let's talk through what's going on. And we have a self-advocacy class, a 6-hour class that we teach that talks about, the difference between being assertive or aggressive or passive aggressive, and how to be assertive and get, so that you get what you want, or at least make progress towards what you want. And we talk about what your rights are, which some people just don't even understand. And it's all about self-advocacy. And that's what the advocates are about. And then we also, that evolved into, we teach a class in the Montgomery County, Correctional Facility. And it's called It's Time. And it's about, it's teaching people about, mental illness and how that impacts, trauma and how that giving people an opportunity to think about how that has impacted how they got to where they are, and talks and gives you resources about, how to get help when you get out. Not every, and so it's also again about self-advocacy and helping people talk through a plan about when they're out of the jail. And also there's even like a storytelling aspect of it where we teach people how to like come up with like an elevator speech, which, to talk to the judge, to talk to your parole officer, to talk to a future employer, to tell your story in as positive a way, or at least in as positive a way as possible. Like, here's what I did. I came to this thing, but here's what I learned, and here's why it's different,
Right.
So we teach that class. But the thing that is awesome about that and about all of the advocacy work that we do there is that we're not fee for service. We're not a clinical service. So we don't have to worry about diagnoses. I think diagnoses is like one of the, you're right. It's this thing where, you have to have a diagnosis, but I'm not a clinician myself, but
right.
But what I've learned over the years is it's the concept of bipolar. There's not like you can't like test your blood and go, okay, look, you have bipolar disorder.
Bipolar.
It's there's a collection of symptoms, and the doctor puts a name to it, but that collection of symptoms can be different for every different person. And the way that the person experiences it is different. The way they cope with it is different. It's all very, and so, so when you have to focus on, and so, to find out whether somebody has a bipolar diagnosis or schizophrenia, that takes a long time. And people they were like, oh, I was bipolar, but now they say I'm schizophrenic. I have schizophrenia. And it's like, so I'm really happy that I'm in a position where I don't have to, everybody at work has, like I said, significant experience. I don't know what anybody's diagnoses are. And some of the diagnoses are, schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever. But I don't need to know any of that. We always talk about things in terms of, what people's actual experience, what their experience is, what their life is.
Mm-hmm.
And people are working towards recovery. And, because we have people at where I work who have been homeless, who have been in jail, and now they're working for us, and they get to help other people, and it makes them, and it really is, it really gives people a really good opportunity to give back. And it's amazing how much that can do for your quality of life just overall. And so by the way, so those are our major programs. So out of that grew, we were employing all these people who, were on disability, some of them, some people aren't, but, and who, are living in this challenge. And so almost everybody is really experiencing poverty, even though they're working for us. And so people were all learning how to help each other out. They're helping each other out with their mental health challenges. They're helping each other out with their, with poverty kind of things. Like, I have a car, I'll give you a ride. Let me help you with that, laundry, blah, 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 whatever. So we were like, this is awesome. How can we do this for a larger community of people? We can't employ everybody, unfortunately. And so that's how we came up with this. That's how we ended up changing our name to HopeWorks. And we came up with this thing we call the Hope Market, which is it's a barter market. It started out like strictly, you couldn't believe the energy in the room the first time we got together and just tried to barter with each other, with stuff, in a formal way. It was amazing. And so we started this, so we were like, so we can open this up to anybody. So back in building 6, we just started, had a room where people, you want to barter something, bring it in. And that's how it started. And now we're in we got in the new building, across the street. And, so now we have this, it's a former warehouse. So we have this couple really large rooms. And we've gotten a little bit away from the barter thing, because let me tell you something. When you start quantifying it, you start going okay, you earn points, you earn, fake money, you earn whatever. IRS wants a piece of it.
Okay.
We're bartering, but my auditors are telling me you gotta track this and people have to pay, dollar taxes on barter transactions, which was like, so we were like, okay, you know what? And as we got through it, people became less interested in that actually, and more interested in the social part of it. And so we still have this thing. We take donations of household goods because we have people who come through a lot out of the homeless shelter, out of the jail system, out of the mental health system from sort of institutional kind of things or residential things. And they're setting up households. So they come through our barter market, home market, and they'll spend some time with us. And we have almost no funding for this. And so, we couldn't, I don't have any paid staff devoted to it. So, the only way it works is if people come and they volunteer there and they keep it running. They manage the donations, they keep track of everything, whatever. And so if you come and you do that, then you can get the household goods you need. And so it's really a win-win-win. Because the other thing is people come in and like I said, maybe they're coming out of the homeless system. They haven't worked in a while. They have no confidence. They come in and they help us out and they get their confidence back. I mean, we really have had people come through and, volunteer with us in order to get things that they need and then go like, oh, wait, I can work,
Yeah.
And then they've gone out and gotten a job and, and with the home market, there's absolutely no talk. Like, I don't really care even if you have mental health challenges or not. Like if you're willing to come and be a part of the community, then come on in. It's fine. And
so through your work there, you kind of keep people out of the other systems, saving taxpayers money.
Oh yeah.
You keep people. You probably help keep recidivism down.
Yeah.
You help people step out of other social support systems that pay them money. Right. And be independent on their own. And I don't think people realize that you're saving them money. We talked outside about $44,000 to put somebody in the jail per year for 2 years for somebody to trespass because he didn't understand.
Right.
How is that improving him? How is that doing anything? How is that not wasting our money?
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure you could do more with $88,000 than that.
I would love $88,000.
Yeah. And people don't understand that when you're running, and I watched you guys work, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but you were clearly on a budget. Mm-hmm. You were clearly on a budget, and
we got so bad at the end of our last fiscal year that I was like, okay, so we have in our Hope Market we had coffee cups. I said, okay, so we're getting rid of paper cups. We are getting rid of paper cups because we can't do it anymore, and everybody has to use a paper cup or has to use a coffee cup. So and there's a few things I got rid of like that, and we were just going to try to make it to the end of the fiscal year, but then it was like it worked. So we're like, okay, so no more money on paper. But those are the kind of cost cutting things we do sometimes.
They don't understand when you're running and you're not somebody's got a 6-figure budget and everything. Mm-hmm. That we were doing a training and there was a really bad car accident. Car in motion hit a parked car and just went down by the hospital, right by Building 6. Just flipped hood over and then rolled 3 sides. We went out, helped the guy out, got him out of the car, blocked off the street and everything. Had everything wrapped up before police fire got there and everything. It was good. And I remember walking by, the guy's truck was totaled. Mm-hmm. That was parked. And I remember looking at it, he said, you check and see if everybody's in there. I said, nobody's in there. I already checked. He said, what are you looking at? I said, just wonder what size tires he had on there because we need tires on the trucks. Don't have money for it. And this is going to the junkyard. I mean, and you start to become this kind of scavenger, for things. Yeah. And you come up with these little things where it's somebody's whispering, don't use paper cups because Sue will flip out.
Oh, yeah. That's color copies is the thing that they're always like, oh, my God, you made a color copy. Sue's going to flip out.
Yeah. And color, it's because things are there. They just think that because they're there, they'll always be there and they don't cost anything. And it's just you're scrounging, and the really passionate services are always scrounging. And I think while it would be great if somebody just walked in and gave you $1 million, that could ruin you in some ways.
No,
you know?
yeah.